You're listening to Republic Broadcasting Network because you can handle the truth.
What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero. You're listening to the Republic Broadcasting Network, where you'll find out what the Fukushima's going on.
And aloha, America. Welcome to our show today. It is Monday, November 26, 2018, and getting to the end of the month here. It's Cyber Monday for those of you who are out there braving the shopping malls and getting through all of that nonsense as well. We have a lot to talk about today. There's a lot going on in the world here. The phone lines are open, 800-313-9443. Mike is in our control room, ready to answer the phone, put you on the air with comments and criticisms. Starting off with a little bit of good news, the InSight probe has touched down on Mars. And that was after 7 months transit time in space. So they're very happy over there. And of course, it's good news for NASA, which has had a lot of recent setbacks. I mean, not unexpected. Everybody knew that Kepler was running out of fuel. And they did get Curiosity running again, but it looks like Opportunity definitely has gone away. So InSight is down on Mars. It is going to drill down into the surface, do all kinds of analyses. Unfortunately, sadly, it is not there to confirm the presence of life. And it almost seems like NASA doesn't really want to go through that embarrassment if it turns out we were right on Viking all those years ago. The big news, unfortunately, is developments over in Russia and Ukraine. And apparently, Ukraine decided to send some ships through the Kerch Strait into the Sea of Azov. Now, with Crimea part of the Russian Republic, the Sea of Azov is considered Russian territory, and Ukraine is supposed to ask for permission. Ukraine said they asked for permission, but they never got it. And so they sailed on in. There was a confrontation that it involved one ramming and some actual firing of naval artillery. And Russia is now basically holding 3 Ukrainian ships captive. And of course, it's a huge escalation here, basically for these ships to go into Russian waters without really announcing their intentions. So it's a very, very tense situation. And what is going on is Poroshenko immediately signed a declaration declaring martial law in Ukraine. And apparently, just before we went to airtime, the Rada authorized martial law for 30 days. Now, that's probably not what Poroshenko wanted. I think Poroshenko's goal here is to provoke this crisis and get martial law declared on a pretty much ongoing basis, because that would allow him to cancel the upcoming elections, which he is not expected to win. And I think that is a big part of what's going on here, although apparently this breach of Russian territorial waters was done with full coordination with NATO, and there is a Security Council meeting taking place right now over the situation to see what's going on here. And apparently Ukraine is saying, well, they have a right to shipping lanes going in and out of there. And they do, but again, Russia controls that body of water and those shipping lanes. And I'm sure if Ukraine asked nicely, Russia would say, yeah, that's what you want to do. But they're already calling it the Kerch incident. And again, the most troubling thing about it is that this was done with full NATO consultation. So NATO knew that Ukraine was going to do this, did not try and talk them out of it. Okay. So, Russia is refusing to release those captured ships. Meanwhile, Ukrainian forces are using heavy artillery on the residential area of Donbass. So Poroshenko is really cranking up on this. And it does look like we could be on the brink of war with Russia, between NATO and Russia. Over in Kiev, protesters have been throwing smoke flares and regular flares at the Russian embassy, and apparently the Russian embassy has caught fire. It's a small fire, and they put it out. But apparently the activists brought tires and smoke bombs and flares at the Russian embassy in Kiev. And so law enforcement are there trying to tone things down here. Alrighty, so again, what I think is going on here is Poroshenko knows he cannot win his next election, and this was his way of clinging to power. But the Rada has only authorized martial law for 30 days, and so I don't think that's going to get him to where he needs to go. But Ukraine's army has now been put on full combat alert, and basically, the chief of the general staff and commander-in-chief of Ukraine's armed forces ordered the Ukrainian armed force units on full combat alert. This is coming out of the Ukraine's Defense Ministry press service. So they're definitely arming up over there. Now, the other big story that we're seeing, of course, and let's do a shout out to our on-air affiliates who are rejoining our network. The other big story, of course, was that over the holiday weekend, the migrant horde at the border tried to basically force their way past the border. And they were met with tear gas and rubber bullets, strengthening of the concertina wire. The chief Border Patrol agent was out there saying that, as we knew they were going to do, the migrant organizers were putting the women and children at the front and then started throwing rocks at the Border Patrol agents. So the Border Patrol fought back with tear gas and rubber bullets, and apparently about 500 migrants on the Mexican side of the border overwhelmed police blockades near the San Ysidro port of entry Sunday afternoon. And Mexico is trying to beef up their border security, given the violence of the nature there. And Mexico is now starting to arrest migrants who try and cross the border illegally and deport them back down to Mexico's southern border. So Mexico is starting to work with the U.S. on this issue as well. But apparently, thousands more migrants are expected to arrive in Tijuana and to demand asylum in the United States. Well, if you want asylum, you ask politely. You don't demand it. Demanding is not going to get you anything. And let's see. Now, the Tijuana mayor is calling for international cooperation in the humanitarian crisis at the border. He's very critical of Mexico's federal government, saying it is either unwilling or simply unable to deal with what's going on. And so the Tijuana mayor is appealing to the international community for some kind of help there. Now, one of the Honduran migrants is saying that there are 20,000 more on their way, and they're going to just march through the vehicle lanes at the border at San Ysidro, because it's wider than the one at San Diego, and the one at San Diego is already shut down. And basically came on in and said the claim applying for asylum is a waste of time. They're not even going to bother. They're just going to crash on through and say, here we are, deal with us here. Now, Democratic Senator Ben Cardin is claiming that Donald Trump is causing illegal immigrants to break the law. Donald Trump is making them break the law by not letting them in. Well, the law is the law is the law here. And even CNN wasn't buying that particular one here. Meanwhile, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is likening the migrant caravan to Jews fleeing the Holocaust. She did that out on Twitter, prompted a huge Twitter storm backlash saying they're not even close to being the same. But that's what Alexandria is out there. Meanwhile, over on MSNBC, Andrea Mitchell was out there saying that Trump is trying to foment border violence for political gain, that he's going to get gain out of it. Well, the midterm elections are over, and it's, roughly 2 years until the next one. So I don't think so. Interestingly enough, though, if you look at the corporate media coverage, they're all featuring this photo of the exact same women and children apparently being tear gassed. There's not a lot of tear gas around them. It's shot from all kinds of different angles, which led one of the people over on Twitter to say it's a staged shot. They set up the women and the children, and they all said, okay, now, and they all took pictures from the different angle, and they're all trying to use them, but you can tell it's the same woman and the same children here. So, okay. Trump is apparently down in Mississippi for a rally down there. All right. I've been talking about Hawaii's Representative Tulsi Gabbard for quite some time, and apparently people are starting to notice her. And article coming out of Russia Today is describing her as a rising star, and that she represents the new progressive face of the Democratic Party, and basically signals the decline of the old guard, which would be good. And Tulsi is talking about a popular Democratic revolt that could go all the way to the White House, which I would like to see. And she's out there scolding Donald Trump on Twitter for caving into Saudi Arabia over the Khashoggi killing. In this case, I have to disagree with her for reasons I'm about to share with you a little bit. But there is serious talk that Tulsi Gabbard could run in 2020. And if she does, I'm going to be supporting her. Because Trump's a disappointment. Now, maybe Tulsi will get elected and she'll be a disappointment as well. But the only way I would ever support Donald Trump again is if Hillary steps back on in. And apparently, from the results of this book tour that she and Bill Clinton have been taking around the country and the latest polls, Hillary's star is definitely in decline. It's definitely waning here. And of course, one of the reasons that Tulsi is looked at with a tremendous amount of respect is back in 2016, she resigned from the Democratic National Committee over the fact that they were skewing the nominating process toward Hillary Clinton. So anyway, getting on back to Donald Trump and Saudi Arabia, a lot of people have criticized Donald Trump that he's not holding Mohammed bin Salman to account for the death of Jamal Khashoggi. And Tulsi Gabbard did that as well. A lot of people were saying Trump just rolled on over. He's Saudi Arabia's bitch. We should all feel moral disgust. And yes, we should. Okay, but we're talking real politic here. Now, it's very easy for lawmakers and corporate media people who aren't really connected with the government. They can ride their high horses. They can accuse the president. They can say whatever they want. They're not the ones sitting in that White House having to think about our national security, our economy, and our future. Trump is. And Trump is having to do what's right. It may not be in the moral sense of the word, but what is right in terms of the interests of the United States as a nation. And that's what he did. I don't like it, but I'm not going to condemn him for it. It really was the only decision he could make because of Saudi Arabia's influence on the oil markets, Saudi Arabia's impact on our economy, the fact that Saudi Arabia is a key ally of the United States in the Middle East. And Trump really can't afford to throw that all away. So, don't like it, but that's sometimes the kind of decisions you have to make when you're the president here. All right. Over at Judicial Watch, they have filed a House ethics complaint against Maxine Waters for inciting violence and assaults on the Trump cabinet. Now, this goes all the way back to June 23rd when she was at this rally in Los Angeles, and she came on out with this highly inflammatory statement. If you see anybody from that cabinet in a restaurant, in a department store, at a gasoline station, you get out and you create a crowd and you push back on them and you tell them they are not welcome anymore anywhere. And unfortunately, that speech did result in there being a couple of incidents of people just out having dinner with their family, literally being harassed out of restaurants. We have to bring back civility to these discussions. We really do. If we're going to go around being aggressive and violent and insulting and uncivil, we're not going to make any progress. The situation is just going to deteriorate more and more. All right, so anyway, it is, as I said at the top of the show, November 26th, and the calendar is running on Hillary Clinton, who has a deadline of December 14th, where she must comply with the federal court order to compel her written, sworn testimony on key issues about the email server. Now, you'll remember last week when Judicial Watch won this decision in court, there was an immediate attempt to try and equate Hillary's private email server with the fact that Ivanka Trump occasionally used private email as well. And the two aren't even close together. And judging from the fact that that has now left the corporate media, I guess nobody was buying that. But I think it is indicative of the fact that Hillary Clinton is very nervous about this. She's very, very nervous about this. I think there's a lot of people in the government are very nervous about this. That whole email issue. I mean, they could get it to go away, Department of Justice and the FBI. They can't get Judicial Watch to back off, which is why I hope Tom Fitton is wearing his Kevlar undies here. All righty, George Papadopoulos, as you know, was sentenced to 2 weeks in jail for lying to FBI agents working on Robert Mueller's Russia investigation. Now, Papadopoulos still insists it was a case of faulty memory and not intentional lying. And apparently he went back to court to try and get out of the 2-week sentence in jail, and the judge rejected that and said no. It's 14 days, okay? So Papadopoulos surrendered to agents today to start his 14-day sentence. Now, Jerome Corsi is a somewhat different story. Apparently, Robert Mueller offered him a plea deal for 1 count of perjury. And Corsi, whose role in Mueller's investigation revolves around the accusation that he was an intermediary between Roger Stone and WikiLeaks, said he was offered the deal, and he came back and said, no, I'm not going to sign a lie. They can put me in prison the rest of my life. Now, apparently, he's got a book in progress in which he's going to come on out talking about Robert Mueller's Gestapo-like tactics in terms of the conduct of the investigation. And apparently, he's going to file a lawsuit as well. Now, rumors are still out there that Mueller's final report is going to be devastating to Donald Trump. And at this point, with the midterms over, it looks like they're going to try and just stall this thing out for 2 whole years so they can come on out with more accusations going to the general election here. But Corsi is working on the book, and I expect that one will be worth reading when it comes on out. Okay, we are coming up here on a commercial break, and let's see. All right, I'm listening to our control room check. We'll be back after these few words.
First Amendment in the Bill of Rights limits the government's power by ensuring the freedom of speech and preserving the rights of the people. Every day that passes, our rights gradually slip away. It's time to take a stand and let the government know we're tired of losing our rights. LibertyStickers.com will allow you to express your rights and allow millions of people to see you stand up for what you believe in. LibertyStickers.com carries the largest selection of bumper stickers online, ranging from political to humorous, and is your #1 source for Ron Paul for President stickers. As always, you can find your favorite stickers that protest the war and the president. Don't see what you're looking for? Liberty Stickers will custom make stickers that will let you get your message across for all Americans to see. Go to LibertyStickers.com and see pre-made stickers that will get everyone talking. That's LibertyStickers.com or call 877-873-9626. Liberty Stickers, the world's most dangerous stickers.
Attention RBN listeners. Dr. Ignatius Piazza, founder of Front Sight Firearms Training, and Fate have come together to allow RBN to run another fundraiser till the end of the year. We didn't really expect this opportunity, but thankfully it's here and running as you hear this. We've set a goal of 500 donations by the end of the year, which averages around 6 per day, 7 days a week. When you realize all the folks listening to RBN all hours of the day and night, we think our goal is realistic and extremely critical to keep RBN on the air. If everybody listening will seriously assess their ability with firearms and then take advantage of this opportunity, we feel our goal is very conservative. Please take the time to look over Front Sight's website to get an idea of an amazing facility and the world-class training that's going on there. If this interests you, you likely will have like-minded friends that would like to know. Tell them. If for some reason some listeners are not personally interested, consider sons and daughters, close friends, nieces or nephews, top valued employees, inform club members, share the opportunity with police and fire departments. It's not too early to plan Christmas presents for special people. This fundraiser has come at an extremely critical time for RBN because the dire need for equipment upgrades. We're running on the spare tire currently with no money to fix a flat, and the fuel gauge is bouncing on E. This is one of the most valuable ways you can help RBN financially because you get Commander lifetime membership value that is 50 times your donation and can be passed on forever. How many times during life do you get to leave a legacy? See more details and contact info on our webpage, republicbroadcasting.org, and thank you.
What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero. You're listening to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Here is your host, Michael Rivero.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. And getting on back to our political news here. Article coming out of the New York Post. This is getting on back to the story behind the story, which is the fact that behind all of the Russia collusion was a smokescreen. The real crime was Obama's spying scandal. And more, it's starting to look like Watergate. And when Nixon was caught spying on his political enemies, it was a huge blow-up, and he wound up having to resign. Why did it become acceptable for Obama to do it? And we're in a situation right now where it seems like every time the Department of Justice or the FBI get caught violating the law, violating the Constitution, instead of outrage, we're accused of being unpatriotic. Now, really, if you're a patriot, you'll forget that Constitution and Bill of Rights thing, because we've got to spy on people. It's for your own good, That's what they always say here. Monica Lewinsky's back in the news. I don't know if she's got a book deal coming out, but I was noticing all of a sudden people are paying attention to her, and her new revelations are that at one point during the scandal, she became suicidal. The other revelation that came on out was that Bill Clinton told her to lie under oath. And I don't know what the statute of limitations would be on something like that, but I think Monica's just looking out for attention there. All right, let's talk about Julian Assange, because there's a lot going on. There's been a story floating around the web that he's already back in the United States, but I can't get a confirmation on that. And it may just be more of this fake news, which we seem to be cursed with these days. But as you know, last week there was this embarrassing cut and paste error that revealed that there is a sealed indictment against him, ready to go as soon as he's back in the United States. Now, story, again, New York Post is saying that Assange's indictment may cause trouble for the Democrats because, remember, Assange has hinted that the Russians were not the source of all the Democratic Party emails he published, and it was a leak from within the Democratic Party itself. In fact, at one time, he actually mentioned the name Seth Rich. Well, the Democrats don't have to worry because, according to this other article that came on out, the prosecution of Julian Assange is based on the information that was leaked by Chelsea Manning, and they are not touching the DNC emails. Everybody is scared of that email server. And it's just one more piece of information that suggests there was a real major scandal with that email server. Not just using it for official business, but a repeat of the Chinagate scandal all over again. Nobody wants that one to get on out. That is a secret that would bring the entire government down. Actor Tom Arnold got himself a little visit from the Secret Service here. And apparently he went on out on Twitter, and in response to Montana Representative Greg Gianforte's previous body slamming of a reporter, Tom Arnold tweeted, "I say put up or shut up, real Donald Trump. Me versus you for America. First body slam wins. Any rally, any time between now and the midterms." Apparently, he put this tweet out on October, end of October, before the election actually happened here. And this gets back to that issue about civility. Because, you know, Tom's fun. He's a funny guy, like his movies. But this doesn't really help the situation. And I think one of the problems that social media has done is because it gives you a protective distance. You're not really there with the person you're taking a shot at. I think people are more willing to let out comments that might be angering or offensive, because it's not like somebody can reach back through your cell phone and, you know, tweak your nose or something. And I think it would be nice if people, when they're on social media, would realize, you know, how does this look? How would this exchange sound if it were face to face? So it's just my little kind of comment on that one. But anyway, Tom Arnold got himself a visit from the Secret Service. And I'm sure they just came on in and said, you know, were you really planning on doing it? And he's going to say, no, I'm just mouthing off on Twitter. And but that's what the Secret Service does. All right, we're coming back here on another commercial break. When we come on back, we're going to be talking about the conflict zones other than Russia and Ukraine, and we'll be right back.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
All
Homeowners, if your lender has gone out of business or sold your transaction to another lender or servicer, you may be the victim of a wrongful foreclosure resulting in the loss of your home. If you've already lost your home, are in foreclosure, or even in good standing, you can challenge the mortgage transaction's illegal issue and your property can be restored to you, and your foreclosure can be stopped or reversed and the mortgage transaction declared unenforceable. State laws, U.S. title codes, the Uniform Commercial Codes, and U.S. Supreme Court rulings have upheld that defective mortgage documentations can reverse or stop foreclosures and enforce property title claims in favor of the homeowner. We are having successes in stopping the process of foreclosure, the enforcement of the foreclosure judgments, the sale of property, and evictions after the sale. We are not attorneys, and we don't give legal advice. We are a professional team of legal researchers, providing forensic mortgage audits and expert witnesses. We have the knowledge to produce the evidence and enforce laws regarding your legal issues. We've been in business for 12 years without a complaint. Consultations are free, and we provide a free title search to confirm if your mortgage has legal defects. Please call 855-253-3748. 855, the number 2, keep it today.
This is too good to be true, except this time it is real. 100%. No joke. How about a $25,000 membership to Front Sight Firearms Training Facility as a thank you bonus for a one-time donation to RBN of only $400? It is a Commander lifetime membership with no yearly fees or dues. The training is free for the rest of your life with over 50 different classes. Then leave it to your designated beneficiary. You provide the approved firearm, holster, ammo, eye, and ear protection. Many features and bonuses are included, more than you would ever expect or believe. This is the ultimate graduation present, wedding gift, etc., etc. See the details. Go to RBN's webpage and frontsight.com to make it happen. You will hear this offer only on this radio network. Help keep RBN alive. Tell 5.
Without the right accessories, any guy can be off the mark. Whether you've invested thousands in your arsenal or you own a single trusted firearm, a visit to AROutfitting.com is in order. It's one of the finest online selections of tactical optics and AR parts and add-ons, like EOTech, quick target acquisition with no peripheral loss. Browse the full range of Nikon scopes and binoculars. AROutfitting.com can illuminate your world with Streamlight gun-mounted lights from keychain to large handhelds, up to 1,100 lumens. Find some stability with Battenfield tactical bipods. AirOutfitting.com has CMMG gun parts, barrels, assemblies, handguards, part kits, and more, plus mag-full clips and magazines. I know I've got you excited, so take a breath. Head to AirOutfitting.com. The site's super easy to navigate and features a ton of technical info, including links to manuals. We also welcome vendor and manufacturer inquiries. Remember, if you don't see it, we can get it at AROutfitting.com.
What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero. Join Mike on the air. Call toll-free 800-313-9443. 800-313-9443.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. And jumping back to the situation in Russia and Ukraine, I'm just now this second putting up a story where Russia has basically interviewed the crew of those vessels that they captured, and apparently one of the officers did confirm this was a planned, intentional provocation by Ukraine into the Azov Sea to basically push the buttons and get things going here. So, that's not good. Not good news any time of the year, but especially it's going to impact the Christmas shopping season. All right, getting on to other parts of the world here. Apparently, over 100 civilians in Syria were targeted in a chemical attack on Aleppo city by the militants, by the U.S.-backed rebel forces. They're not trying to claim that Assad had anything to do with this. And apparently 107 civilians suffered asphyxiation from chlorine gas, at which point the Russians launched an attack at the staging ground for this Aleppo chemical attack. And Russian jets hit the targets of terrorists who had shelled Aleppo with deadly chlorine gas on Saturday. And this was the al-Nusra group. And they were using handmade 120 millimeter mines with poisonous substances to shell Aleppo. So, meanwhile, down in Yemen, despite the claims in the media about Iranian support, Yemen is producing their own ballistic missiles, domestically produced, and they used one to hit a military base in the Asir region of Saudi Arabia. And apparently, it's unknown how many soldiers were killed or wounded, but it is known that there was damage to the base itself. Alrighty, let's look. We have a caller on the line. And Dustin in New Jersey, aloha. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Poroshenko has a 80% disapproval rating.
Yes.
So that's why he declared more. I don't know when the election is in 2019, but 30 days ain't enough because
Nope.
It's just going to anger the Ukrainian people. And by the way, they're getting their natural gas from Russia still, so they should keep that in mind if they don't want to freeze. And hey, Mike, those
They're
three
already
ships,
freezing.
You call them?
They're already freezing. I mean, the gas is in limited supply, and there's a lot of households in Ukraine that do not have heat, and we're really getting into this very, very hard winter. There have already been protests and riots. It's one of the reasons Poroshenko's disapproval rating is so high.
Well, those three ships, I wouldn't call the other two ships because did you see the size of them things? They're just little patrol. They're tiny.
Yeah.
The tugboat, they're bigger than a bread box. Let's just leave it at that. But they're way smaller than our smallest Coast Guard besides a rowboat.
I think
my
actually
God,
that's
they're
where
tiny.
Ukraine got them. They're former U.S. Coast Guard ships. And I'm sure that Poroshenko didn't want to lose any expensive assets. I mean, if this report that just came out is accurate, this was an intentional provocation. They meant for these ships to be captured. And, you're going to send your cheapest ships possible.
Of course, because it all fits into the same pattern of Russian aggression. Nikki Haley came out. It's the same. Sweden, Poland, UK, Netherlands, all we're on we stand fully support Ukraine.
Yep.
And going back, they fully supported the coup in Ukraine too. So yeah, I mean, what Mike, the Ukrainian Poroshenko can say all he wants, but the Russians would crush him. They would 20,000 troops left last year. 10,000. What army? They left all the NATO equipment behind the last time when it came to the Lugansk and stuff. They're not going to do anything. They'll get their people back, but the ships they ain't going to get back. I don't know. I mean, I don't know why Russia would want those. Maybe the tugboat. I think
that Putin probably will give them back. He doesn't want this thing to escalate. As far as actually breaking into actual conflict, I mean, Ukraine is shelling the Donbass right now. This whole operation in the Azov Sea was done coordinating with NATO. So if this is going to go into conflict, this is not Ukraine and Russia. This is NATO and Russia. And we're off to World War III for real.
Well, remember this, in November 16th, that Ukraine officials went to Washington, D.C., and in that report from the State Department that was released, it mentions the Sea of Azov.
Yes.
So this was all part of the plan. And, Mike, if NATO goes to war against Russia right off their border, NATO ain't going to win. I mean, it's right there,
Yep.
I mean, there's a report coming out. There's 500 fighter jets Russia has deployed along the border. Well, Russia is next to Ukraine, so they got military bases over there. So there's a lot of propaganda going on. But this is the same pattern. Blame Russia, Russian aggression. It ain't going to stop, Mike, until Putin puts a stop to it. You know what I mean? Because it's just going to keep going and going and going. It's not ending. Putin should have took Mariupol when they decided to annex Crimea. They should have took Mariupol because
Russia did not annex Crimea. Okay, let's
Well, and I mean, the people voted for it, but I'm
Yeah.
saying, not annexed, I didn't mean that word, but like that Mariupol area, that's where those ships were headed. I
No, I don't
pretty-
think so. I think, again, my read of Vladimir Putin is he's trying to keep things from escalating. He's not going to take anything. He's not going to be the one to strike first, although obviously they're trying to goad him into doing just that.
And Mike, real quick, that woman, Yulia Sherpenko,
Yeah? Hello? Did we just lose Dustin? I guess we did. Okay. So, yeah, we lost him. All right. Meanwhile, let me comment on that a little bit more. We know who the aggressor is in the current age of war, and it's not Russia. Putin is proving himself a global statesman. He's trying to keep this from really happening. Unfortunately, he's outnumbered by all the people who think war is fantastic. Let's go on and drop some more bombs here. No, I don't think Putin is going to take anything. He's not going to strike the first blow. And but I think with this provocation, it's very obvious that there is a plan to basically push this war forward. We could be into it by Christmas time. Okay, over in France, they're still rioting over the fuel price hikes, and apparently they're quite sizable. Macron's government has added fees, taxes, tariffs, what have you, which has driven up fuel prices by 20%, and the French people are rioting, and they're starting to call themselves the Yellow Vest protesters. Apparently they decided, because the protests are extending into the night, they're going to wear the safety vest, but that's what they're calling it, the Yellow Vest protesters, and they're causing a huge amount of damage. In fact, Paris is being described as a kind of a war zone, which it was already on the border with because of all the problems with the migrants, the refugees. And apparently the fuel tax comes into effect in January of next year, and the French are very, very angry about it. Over in Syria, the U.S. is now training 30,000 Syrian Kurdish fighters to, quote, contain Iran, end quote. Looks like that war is, back on the planning board here. And apparently the U.S. is building observation posts on the Syria-Turkey border along with this training program here. And if this plan is successful, it could bring the Syrian Democratic Forces, which are not with the Syrian government, it's one of the U.S.-backed outfits, to 90,000 fighters. That is a pretty sizable army there. Unfortunately, the U.S. does not have a good record with these training programs. They've tried it before several times with Syria, and they don't produce the number of soldiers that they're supposed to. In fact, very often, and this was a huge embarrassment, the other side will sign up, and they'll get U.S. training, U.S. equipment, then they'll split, go join the opposite side here. So we'll see what's going to happen with that. Down in Israel, as you know, the Great March of Return protests are continuing, and apparently there was a clash on the Gaza-Israel border east of Gaza City a few days ago. 100 Palestinians were wounded during clashes between Palestinian demonstrators and Israeli soldiers stationed on the border between the eastern Gaza Strip and Israel. Now, apparently during that protest, the IDF shot a Palestinian cameraman in the leg. Broke his ankle, going to require surgery. This guy was wearing a blue helmet and brown protective vest with the word press clearly marked in white. And he was also nearly 600 meters away from the protesters on an elevated area operating a camera. And especially after that situation with Khashoggi, everyone said, what are you shooting at journalists again for? Israel says, we promise we will investigate and look at what happened there. All righty, we're going to take another phone call. Mark in North Carolina. Aloha. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hello, Mike. Mike, I don't know. Do you honestly think that the people in charge of our government right now are that stark raving mad that they would actually push for war with Russia? I mean, first of all, if it's a conventional war, you're not going to win. We're not going to win. Not on that border there. That's Russia's territory. They will fight like demons.
Yes.
I'm talking about just conventionally, just like World War II. You're not going to let that happen again. They're prepared for this. That would be a suicide for the U.S. forces. Now, I would say this. It might teach this country a lesson to stop messing with people. However, I don't want to see American troops die in maybe the hundreds of thousands to learn a lesson like that. On top of that, again, it could go nuclear. It very possibly would go nuclear, and that would be the end, probably the end of the planet Earth as we know it.
Yep.
So, I mean, those are the consequences. So it's a terrible thing. But do you honestly think these people are that crazy? I mean, they're going to suffer too. You know, I don't know what they think they're going to get out of the bunkers. If they could make it in the bunkers in time, if those missiles are starting, and they'll take maybe 10 minutes to get to the United States, start blowing things up.
It depends on where they're launched from. If you're talking about SSBNs off the coast, could be as little as 5 minutes. If you're talking about SSBN coming from mainland Russia to mainland continental United States, you're talking about 45 minutes.
Okay, the ICBMs?
Yeah.
Right. Whatever the case, especially if they fired off the coast, so the submarines and all, these clowns are going to get, the White House will probably be vaporized along with the Congress, okay?
Yep.
So what do these people expect? They're going to die too, not just us regular peons. Matter of fact, I probably got a better chance out here of surviving. I don't, not much because of the radiation and the mountains of North Carolina. At least I'm, but you probably have a better chance. Well, I don't know. I was just saying Hawaii, but you do have Pearl Harbor there.
Yeah. We've got a first strike target right out the window here.
Yeah, but I'm not counting on it. Let's put it like this, because mutual exchange between the U.S. and Russia, probably China would get involved in it too. Britain, France, it'd be horrible. I don't, radiation poisoning, nuclear winter would probably wipe out pretty much all of Earth's, not only mankind, but probably the animals too. That's how horrible it is. So what makes you think, do you honestly think these people are that crazy then, Mike? I mean, remember back in you remember back in the Cold War?
Yes.
You had crazy people like that. Then, God, we had JFK and Khrushchev, who thought of their kids and their grandkids. Wouldn't Trump at least think of his kids and his grandkids? I understand, like Theresa May, that fool there in France, Macron, and the other witch there in Germany,
Merkel.
They don't have any kids. Merkel, yeah, but they don't have any kids. So maybe they don't think about those things. I don't know. Putin has kids and grandkids, So, I mean, at least you would think the two leaders, Putin and Trump would think about it. Well, I don't think Putin was thinking about it, but you think Trump would think about his kids and his grandkids. So it's hard for me to believe that they will actually go for this. Especially over Ukraine. That's none of our business. Never been any of our business. That's right in Russian territory, really. Crimea is part of Russia and has been part of Russia for hundreds of years. They bled to get Crimea back from the Germans in World War II. I've seen some of the stuff on the History Channel. The Battle of, I forget the name of that town there. There's a certain city within Crimea that was a really fierce battle between when the Soviets took back Crimea from the invading Germans. So they're going to fight. But and again, if it's going to be conventional, this isn't going to be Iran or Iraq. It's certainly not going to be Iraq. Russians not only know how to fight, they have the weapons to fight with.
They have much better weapons here. Well, we're coming up here on a commercial break here, and I want to let you go with that comment that Paul Craig Roberts made a few months back, where he said there are actually people in Washington, D.C. and the Pentagon thinking about a nuclear first strike against Russia to avoid having to go into a costly conventional war. So that's the thinking over there, Anyway, Mark, we're going to let you go, take a break for commercials, have another caller waiting on the line, and we'll be right back.
I'm getting older and noticing that my body just doesn't work as well as it used to. So I like to keep fit as possible by hitting the gym a few times a week. Recently, I started having a nagging bicep pain, and it got so bad I couldn't even lift the weights. When I was complaining about it to a friend, he told me about Angioprim. He said chelation helps remove toxins, heavy metals, and cholesterol in veins and arteries that may cause blockages. After just 1 week of taking Angioprim, the pain was gone, and now I'm back in the gym full strength. Scientific research proves the active ingredient in Angioprim has superior oral chelation action that helps promote cardiovascular health. So to learn more, go to angioprim.com. That's ANGIOPRIM.com, or talk to a trained consultant. Call Angioprim toll free at 877-882-7221. You'll feel better with more energy. Call 877-882-7221 or go to the website angioprim.com.
Did you know that neither the American Medical Association nor the American Bar Association were established to benefit the American people? Have you recognized that in our country, healthcare has little to do with health, and that our court system has nothing to do with justice? The priests of both medicine and law have been incentivized to implement a dark agenda on behalf of the Bilderbergers and their ilk. To protect ourselves and our progeny, we need to take a much closer look at how these two giant industries really work. Join me, Al Whitney, on In Defense of Humanity, Saturdays at 7 p.m. Central, as we expose the matrix and learn how not to consent to our own destruction.
Many people write us about their experience with Extendivite. Allow me to read you some from Amazon.com. It really does work like the review says it does. I cannot believe that after the first few days, I didn't feel as sluggish or clogged up. It has had a profound impact on my physical, emotional well-being. I'm skeptical as most people about products and their claims, and I never write reviews, but this is a wonderful product and I recommend it to everyone. Great product. It has brought my blood pressure from the mid-150s over the 80s to the mid-130s over mid-80s, along with diet and exercise in just the past couple of months. Excellent. Thank you, David. Tell us your story. Get Extendivite today. Call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendivite.
When all this twisted steel was swept away, did these remaining holes reveal what really happened?
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show, and we're going to go right back to the telephones to Glenn in Philadelphia. Aloha, Glenn. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Aloha, Mike. I vividly remember the daily headlines of the Falklands War.
Yes.
And if there's one thing that war should have taught us, is that the days of World War II style naval engagement are over.
Yes.
Okay, I vividly remember, British ships with aluminum deck plating on fire, British Navy with Harrier jump jets going up against an Argentinian Air Force with Mirage fighter jets, and the cost and the decimation of the forces were just ridiculous. And the ante on all that has been upped exponentially in the intervening times. All Russia would have to do is take out one of the smallest frigates in an aircraft carrier squadron, just damage it, and it's over. The whole facade is blown. And of our dozen or so carrier squadrons, I believe probably only 2 or 3 of them are afloat at sea at any one time. So even our carrier force is not able to maintain the airplane. There's all sorts of parts and everything.
Yeah,
it's just simply not possible to engage.
There are some maintenance issues. I know that 2 of the carriers are down for reactor refueling, and I believe something like another 4 are in dry dock for maintenance issues. So yeah, we don't really actually have that many deployable carriers, but we've got one in the Med.
Yeah,
just arrived there.
Yeah, right. And people don't understand. An aircraft carrier isn't just one big ship. There's a squadron of other defending vehicles. They have destroyers and missile frigates and maintenance ships and 200 killer subs that escort them. And all it would take is to take it. They don't even have to. They don't need to kill 5,000, naval service people on an aircraft carrier. They could simply damage a missile frigate, and poof, it would be like popping a pin in a balloon, and the whole illusion of power projection and naval superiority goes down the tubes, along with our economy too.
Well, again, the power projection is effective against smaller countries. Because the U.S. does have the ability to project across the littoral combat area. I don't think China or Russia are that impressed by the carrier mindset. I think that's why they haven't invested as much money into them as the United States does. As I've said before, I think one of the problems we have right now is that our Pentagon has basically been refining and rebuilding the weapons that won World War II, and not really thinking as much about current realities as Russia and China have done, which is, for example, we're having to play catch up on the hypersonic vehicles. So they made the same mistake going into World War II, thinking the battleship was the mainstay of naval combat. They thought aircraft carriers, nice, not a big deal. Anyway, Glenn, got to take a break for station identification. We will be right back.
This is too good to be true, except this time it is real. 100%. No joke. How about a $25,000 membership to Front Sight Firearms Training Facility as a thank you bonus for a one-time donation to RBN of only $400? It is a Commander lifetime membership with no yearly fees or dues. The training is free for the rest of your life with over 50 different classes. Then leave it to your designated beneficiary. You provide the approved firearm, holster, ammo, eye, and ear protection. Many features and bonuses are included, more than you would ever expect or believe. This is the ultimate graduation present, wedding gift, etc., etc. See the details. Go to RBN's webpage and frontsight.com to make it happen. You will hear this offer only on this radio network. Help keep RBN alive. Tell 5.
This is RBN, The Republic Broadcasting Network.
What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero. The history the government hopes you never learn. Here is your host, Michael Rivero.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. Hour number 2. The phone lines are open, 800-313-9443. All right, getting on back over to Israel. Apparently, Israel is trying to arrest or abduct, depending upon who you ask, the governor of occupied Jerusalem, Adnan Geith. And apparently yesterday there was a confrontation between Israeli soldiers and Palestinians nonviolently protesting the imprisonment of the governor. And the soldiers and police fired dozens of concussion grenades at the protesters, assaulted many of them with clubs and batons, causing many to suffer various cuts and bruises. The soldiers also attacked and injured another Palestinian identified as Jawad Siyam before taking him away in arrest. Now, Israel, everybody's ramping up. Everybody knows an age of war is upon us here. But apparently, Israel is holding a 10-day exercise to practice fighting Hamas and Hezbollah both at the same time. So they're gearing up for a multi-front war here. Apparently, so far this year, Israel has detained over 900 Palestinian children. And it's important to remember, they're simply arrested and taken away. There's no trial, there's no lawyer, there's no family visitation. They just grab them. And many of them are being tortured. Okay, here is a story. This gets on the follow-up to last week's revelation that the Pentagon, after its first ever audit, basically failed the audit. And the attitude coming from the Pentagon was lackadaisical. They were just saying, we never thought we were going to pass it. Well, according to this article that's appearing in Mint Press, or at least according to this Inspector General's report, the Pentagon couldn't account for $6.5 trillion worth of Army General Fund transactions and data. And I don't know if this is in addition to the money that Donald Rumsfeld told us. I'm not even sure, given how badly the auditing went, if this is even an accurate number. It could be far, far worse. Well, what do you do when you have a Defense Department that is just losing money hand over fist? Well, if you're Eric S. Edelman and Gary Rohead, you write a report from the Commission on National Defense Strategies, just released this report, Providing for the Common Defense, and basically saying that there have to be massive U.S. military spending increases. As much money as they already have, they want more. Gotta have more. Gotta have more of your money. And we promise this time we'll keep much better track of where it's all going. Okay. All right. Israel wants to have a gas pipeline to sell gas that it's currently harvesting from under the Golan to Europe. That pipeline right-of-way originally was planned to go through Syria, and Assad's refusal was one of the incidents that led to the war. But apparently Israel has another right-of-way all set up, and the United Arab Emirates has invested $100 million in this project to pipe natural gas to Europe. And apparently there's a company based in Abu Dhabi for the pipeline project, which is internationally known to be unique given its record length as well as the extreme depths it would be laid toward Europe. So they're taking it basically underwater for most of the path here. And the Israeli media is describing this as historic. Okay. And so Israel has signed a multilateral deal over the scheme called the East Med Pipeline Project with Greece, Italy, and Cyprus. And the European Union also supports the project. Now, obviously, Europe right now is very dependent on Russian gas. That's something you don't want to be doing if you're planning on provoking a war. Alrighty. Now, George Soros. George Soros is out there, guy who broke the Bank of Britain, helped the Nazis find his fellow Jews. Apparently, somebody whispered in his ear because he dumped his Facebook and Netflix stocks just before they dipped. And by doing so, the Soros Management Fund saved $17.7 million bailing out of those stocks. All right, we're going to take another phone call here. Don in Iowa. Aloha. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Well, Mike, yes, you were talking about is things are pointing towards there's going to be a war. There's a guy that I followed for quite a while. He's an economic pundit or whatever you want to call him, named Dan Collins. He's been a regular guest on Max Kaiser for a long time. He always impressed me as a no-nonsense type of guy. He just talk about, because he lived in China. He was an expat, lived in China, expert on China. And anyway, but now he's back. I saw him yesterday. He's back in America now, and he made the comment that not only him, but some of the other expats that have lived in China for a long time and made money are getting out of China because they think there's more and more of a chance that a hot war will break out between America and China. So that kind of opened my eyes, because this guy is not, he doesn't just say stuff for the hell of it most of the time, I think.
Yeah, I to me it's very obvious. There's this New World Order plan, the One World Government plan. The U.S. is central to it. We know that going back to the Project for the New American Century. And for the people who want a one world government, they're not thinking in terms of who wins or loses, as long as everybody is crushed down to the point where they're going to say, yes, we'll bow down to the one world government. Where that's going to be, we don't really know. Obviously, a lot of Americans think it should be headquartered in the United States. Israel wants it in Jerusalem. And I think there are countries that would be perfectly happy if the U.S. and Russia and China nuked each other off the surface of the planet, because it would open up their options for the future. I think Israel certainly would have no problem with Russia and the U.S. nuking each other, because with their nuclear arsenal, they would then be in charge of the Middle East, and through that Middle East oil, they'd be in economic charge of pretty much the rest of the planet.
Just tell me this, I wonder what's going to happen to me. I'm sitting over there in my condo in the Philippines, and there's Chinese people actually live next door to me. A lot of Chinese live there too, in my building even, and all over the Philippines. And everybody else is over there, Americans, Germans, Australians, and everybody else. What's going to happen if there's a war that breaks out there, I wonder, between China and America? Hostilities break out.
Well, my guess is,
flights still leave on time?
Obviously the U.S. is going to ramp up their fortifications and weapons and use the Philippines as a forward base, the same as they would do on Guam. And I imagine we'd see a lot of that here. In fact, without going into details, obviously, hearing a lot of training flights going on overhead over this holiday weekend.
I mean, I just wondered, China, it seems to me China could just, might decide to occupy the Philippines all this time. I don't know what's going to happen,
It could happen. I mean, Japan occupied the Philippines during World War II.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not safe here in Iowa either. I'm pretty close to Offutt Air Force Base and other Air Force bases. You're not safe anywhere. If there's a war that breaks out, it doesn't make any difference where you are. And I just can't understand, like your other caller said, what's wrong with these people? Why do they want to? I mean, their families are probably going to get blown up too. A lot of them.
Well,
But
see,
they keep on.
you're forgetting how groupthink works. I mean, these are people who are sitting around and they've been having these discussions for years about a new world order and how we're going to fight the war, and they basically talk themselves into believing that nuclear war is winnable. And of course, anytime a war starts out, one side is convinced they're going to win, and of course, 50% of them are wrong. But I think that's what's really going on. That there are people inside our government who are convinced that the war is winnable, and they're just going to. And yes, there are going to be losses, but that's what war brings. But obviously, these people really think they can pull this off, or they wouldn't be taking these steps.
Okay, well, I'll let you go, Mike. Thanks a lot.
All right, thanks an awful lot here, and we're going to switch to Art off the grid. Aloha, Art. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hey, Mike, hearing a lot of talk about, how the Trump has decided that he's basically, he's not going to really do anything or even say anything really against Saudi Arabia for the killing of Khashoggi and all, and people are just all kinds of twisted and upset over this.
Yep.
And I'm asking the question, okay, the people over there in Saudi Arabia that you're referring to killed Khashoggi or Khashoggi or whatever, however you pronounce his name. Yeah, I ain't got my teeth in, so I got the excuse.
Okay.
But the people who they claim killed Khashoggi, well, those are the leaders of Saudi Arabia. Okay, well, let me ask you a question, people. You want Donald Trump to punish him? Just exactly how do you expect the leader of one country to punish the leader of the other country? Whatever happened to protect your borders? Whatever happened to not cross over your borders? Whatever happened to, mind your own damn business?
Well, I think what people are looking at is the fact that Donald Trump has been imposing sanctions on other countries as a form of punishment for not doing what the U.S. says, including sanctions against Russia for their alleged role in the Skripal affair. And I think a lot of people were saying we should have some sanctions against Saudi Arabia. And as I was mentioning before, Saudi Arabia is critically important to our economy. It's critically important to the oil markets. It is a key ally. And for that reason, Donald Trump's decision, as morally troubling as it may be, was pretty much the only one he could make.
Yeah, and as far as sanctions and such, people need to realize sanctions are considered an act of war.
Yes,
how many
they are.
damn wars do you think we can fight? We're going to lose. We need to stop this. We are in an unwinnable situation. Any one of these countries that we have these sanctions against,
yeah.
If they say, screw your sanctions, we don't care, that's it, we're done.
It's already starting to happen. It's already starting to happen. Countries are moving to use their own domestic currencies. They're bypassing the dollar. They're bypassing SWIFT.
And here's something else, Mike. I want to throw this out to you. Look at Bitcoin right now. Now, there's this, can't think of his name right off the top of my head, but there's this guy that's talking about he's calling for Bitcoin to be up at 400 or whatever by the end of this year, or 4,000 or whatever it is by the end of this year. But if you look at the markets, it shows Bitcoin in the middle of a crash of sorts.
Yes.
And so look at that. But then you kind of have to wonder, we're getting reports that banks all around the country are installing and setting up Bitcoin trading stations.
Yep.
Now, if Bitcoin is crashing right now, but the banks are setting up these Bitcoin stations, have we not seen this twice in this country already?
Yep.
The last time we saw this led to the Great Depression. The first time we saw this was, what was it, back in the 1800s when banks called in loans on houses? We saw this happening before. We've seen this happen twice, where stocks crash and banks make bank. We kind of have to wonder, is this just coincidental that Bitcoin is crashing at the same time banks are setting up their stations? Or do the banks know something that we don't know?
Could very well be. I think Wall Street and the banks like Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies in general because they're a hot item and they're very volatile. And that means there's the possibility of a fast buck. But you're right, the cryptos right now are in a minor meltdown. If you look at how much they've lost since the market top, you'll see this wasn't really a good idea. But if the banks can find customers to buy them and sell them, then yeah, they're going to go ahead and do that and just make more money.
Yeah, it just kind of gets me wondering, because history does tend to repeat itself. Anyway, thanks, Mike. We'll talk again later.
All right, thanks an awful lot. We're going to let you go here. And let me close a couple of windows. I'm trying to do too much at the same time. All right, phone lines are open, so feel free to call on in, 800-313-9443. Speaking of the cryptos, Bitcoin is down to 3,738. And according to this article, which came out of Wolf Street, it's saying the whole crypto scam appears to be melting down. Now, on December 17th, 2017, Bitcoin's market cap was at $333 billion, and it's now down to $64.9 billion. Right now, it's costing people more in terms of the electric bill and the computers to mine Bitcoins than the Bitcoins are actually worth. All right, remember a year ago, Donald Trump was promising his tax cuts were going to save U.S. jobs. Oh, that it were so. General Motors just laid off 15,000 workers, and apparently the CEO of GM is scheduled to have a meeting with one of the White House economic advisors, I think it's Kudlow, to try and figure out what they're going to be doing. And unfortunately, these 14,700 workers are here in the United States. So apparently they're shutting down a production facility just outside Youngstown, Ohio. And it was only a year ago Donald Trump was out there saying jobs were coming back to the area. Well, Don, sorry, didn't work on out. Over in Great Britain, they're looking at the longest fall in living standards for over 60 years. This is coming out of a think tank called the Resolution Foundation. And it said data released in the budget showed the British are families suffering the biggest squeeze in their finances since the 1950s. So, a lot of people are starting to look at Britain's imminent Brexit and Merkel's decline as signaling a power shift in the European Union. And over in Italy, Deputy Prime Minister Matteo Salvini has basically declared himself the leader of Europe's future. He's refusing to budge 1 inch in negotiations with the EU over Italy's budget, now threatening to take down the government. And of course, he's speaking for the Italians. He's speaking for that European population who see what the EU is morphing into, and they do not like it. We got to take a break for commercials. We'll be right back.
Oh, yeah.
Many people tell us about their experience with Extendivite. Just listen to what Glenn has to say.
Prior to taking it, I had diabetic neuropathy. The Extendivite reduced that significantly. Acid reflux was reduced. I had athlete's foot, very severe. Trimmed that down to about 75% dandruff, almost completely gone. I had occipital neuralgia at the base of my skull. I was having migraines, reduced by about 90%. Heart palpitations, my heart would kind of stall out. I would skip a beat, very uncomfortable. And when walking from downstairs going to sleep, by the time I got to the bedroom, which is just one flight of stairs, my heart was pounding, coming out of my chest. My vision was blurry. This completely solved that problem. Great product. Thanks.
Tell us your story. Get Extendivite today. Call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendivite.
Folks, we're living in a world the likes of which we've never perceived any clearer than we do now. The plan for global governance has been in the works for generations and would have likely been achieved by now, but for the fact that the globalists left open their Achilles heel. With all their tools, Federal Reserve System, fiat currency, no child left behind, and then Common Core education introduced to our schools to dumb us down, vaccines, pharmaceuticals to lobotomize us, GMO foods, insertion of compromised or bought and paid for politicians, judges, mainstream media propaganda, all pieced together like a puzzle designed to ultimately bring the world under submission. But with all their strategy, they forgot one thing: knowledge. And knowledge is power. With knowledge, their bombardment is nullified. Folks, with that, as brilliant and knowledgeable as you've become, among the wisest audience of any radio audience in the world, and you are, I want you to take a moment to reflect and ask yourself, how much of that knowledge did I obtain from Republic Broadcasting Network? How high has my consciousness been raised since I've been a listener? How fast am I now able to discriminate truth from fake news by being a Republic Broadcasting listener? How clear am I now able to see the world since I've been listening to RBN? Ask yourselves those questions, folks. Then ask yourself, what is that knowledge worth to me? Like my morning coffee, how would I survive without it? A voice of truth in a sea of lies. Do we not all need to make sure it survives? Like public broadcasting, we are now finding we can only survive with listener support. Censorship, advertisers being attacked, truth itself being attacked. It's the only way through this. We at Republic Broadcasting humbly ask you to become a supporter. Look at your budget and make a determination of what Republic Broadcasting is worth to you and what you can afford on a monthly basis. Go to republicbroadcasting.org and pledge $20, $30, $40, $50, if possible, $100 a month or more if it's affordable. Click the donate button and become a regular monthly donor. Assure both us and yourself that Republic Broadcasting truth will continue to flow like that morning coffee. The network thanks you.
We the people, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show. And once again, for those of you wishing to support Republic Broadcasting, the postal address to send a check, money order, or if you prefer anonymity cash, is Republic Broadcasting Network, 2251 Double Creek Drive, number 302. The phone number where you can call in with a debit or credit card donation is 800-724-2719, extension 1 during normal business hours and extension 3 at all other times here. Apparently, Nikki Haley over at the UN Security Council succeeded in blocking Russia's emergency meeting to discuss what Ukraine had done. So it's getting serious over there. Let's take a phone call from Terry in California. Aloha. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Mike, I got an idea. I want to know what you think about it. What do you think about having a guest from Frontside on your show to answer questions? I go to the website and I go to RBN, the website. It's not really clear what you get with that $500 donation. And, John talks about all the courses that are available and all that sort of thing. Well, first of all, people are going to hear that and they're not going to pull up the website. because they mean to, but they just never get around to it. And then if you get somebody on your show for maybe an hour or whatever to answer questions and explain what the whole program's about, I think that'd be very helpful. That would, I would probably lean towards that, but I'm not sure I'd do it unless I got a clarification on what's included.
That's a very, very good idea, and I'm hoping that Mike is jotting this down to hand to John Stadmiller when John steps into the studio a little bit later. But in general, if you go to the Front Sight Academy website, they've got videos there of all the ranges, and they teach everything about gun safety. First of all, just gun safety itself, care and maintenance of the weapon, standard target shooting, and then as you get more advanced, they actually have courses that simulate real life. And basically, it like the ad says, it's a lifetime membership. You can keep going back there year after year after year after year and keep taking the courses. So, Terry, thank you very much for the phone call. It's an excellent idea. And we're going to let you go here. Okay. Speaking of the United Nations, as you know, they have been pushing this migration pact to basically mandate that migrants are allowed to cross borders anywhere in the world. And it was being, promoted by the open borders people and the globalists, and everyone said, oh, this is going to be a great idea. It's going to be a great idea. Well, actually, a lot of countries are now having second thoughts. And the latest one to back off and say, I don't think so, is Slovakia. Now, the Global Compact for Safe, Orderly, and Regular Migration was approved in July in a symbolic vote by all 193 member UN nations except the United States. The Migration Pact is due to be formally ratified next month. So we'll see what's going to happen with that. But a lot of these countries that voted yes in July, they're now saying they will not sign it. They want to go back to closed borders here. George Soros Open Society Foundation is about to shut down its operations over in Turkey. And they're saying basically groundless claims and speculation are hindering its work. Basically, Turkish President Erdogan has accused Soros of stoking protests to divide the country. And he's also accusing Soros of controlling the Turkish opposition figure Osman Kavala. So that's getting tense over there. Alrighty, over in the, let's see, The Economist, there's an article out basically talking about what a threat Donald Trump has become to the New World Order. And apparently they're quoting some of the Rothschilds saying what a danger it is to have an American president who despises the international norms and disparages free trade and flirts with abandoning America's essential role to maintaining the global legal order. This is in The Economist, and that's a serious magazine. Note right there where they're saying the United States is going to be the center of the global legal order. I don't think for much longer. Mostly because the global legal order seems to favor the United States, whether it's Bretton Woods or things like that. To me, the U.S. is a nation in decline. No question about it. All right, we're going to take another break for commercials, and we'll be right back.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
Ladies and gentlemen, J.R. Moore here. As most of you know, my regular listeners, I offer energy cleaners for sale at my website. If you don't have a clue what I'm talking about, go to my website, thelibertyman.com. Educate yourself about these marvelous healing devices. We focus on pain mitigation and getting a great night's sleep. Arthritis pain, joint pain, back pain, doesn't matter. Keep in mind, I offer from me to you personally a 30-day money-back guarantee. That's what I do. Energy cleaners, $285, shipping included to American zip codes. You can educate yourself all about the energy cleaner right there at my website, the patent application, the wonderful testimonials. Be sure and check out the factory-made fitted mattress pads to go with the energy cleaner. Now, I offer from me to you personally a 30-day money-back guarantee. That's what I do. I have a toll-free order line, or you can order it right at my website at thelibertyman.com. The toll-free order line is 800-592-9543. I say again, 800-592-9543. Thank you.
Hi, folks. CBD is the home run hitter for health right now. Why, you ask? Because of what it does for the body. Unfortunately, I can't tell you all about the benefit. You know, there's reasons. Do your due diligence and log on to ancientlifeoil.com. That's ancientlifeoil.com. Ancient Life Oil uses organic ingredients and is blended in coconut oil for some of the best benefits. Legal in 50 states and non-psychoactive. Log on to ancientlifeoil.com. That's ancientlifeoil.com.
Do you worry a lot? Whether you're a college student, busy professional, parent, or grandparent, ongoing stress and elevated levels of the stress hormone cortisol can rob your memory, your health, and your future. Now you can combat the effects of stress and anxiety while improving your memory and recall at the same time with the dietary supplement Calm and Clever. Studies show that the ingredients in Calm and Clever reduce cortisol by as much as 30% in 1 to 2 weeks. Call 1-800-758-8746 or calmandclever.com.
Without the right accessories, any guy can be off the mark. Whether you've invested thousands in your arsenal or you own a single trusted firearm, a visit to AROutfitting.com is in order. It's one of the finest online selections of tactical optics and AR parts and add-ons, like EOTech, quick target acquisition with no peripheral loss. Browse the full range of Nikon scopes and binoculars. AROutfitting.com can illuminate your world with Streamlight gun-mounted lights from keychain to large handhelds up to 1,100 lumens. Find some stability with Battenfield tactical bipods. AirOutfitting.com has CMMG gun parts, barrels, assemblies, handguards, part kits, and more. Plus magful clips and magazines. I know I've got you excited, so take a breath. Head to AirOutfitting.com. The site's super easy to navigate and features a ton of technical info, including links to manuals. We also welcome vendor and manufacturer inquiries. Remember, if you don't see it, we can get it at AROutfitting.com.
When all this twisted steel was swept away, did these remaining holes reveal what's really happened?
Okay, welcome back to our show here. And again, the phone lines are open, 800-313-9443. A little bit of good news out there in California. The Camp Fire, which is the deadliest wildfire in California history, is now 100% contained. It's been burning for 2 weeks, and it killed at least 85 people. 249 are on a list of those who are still unaccounted for, and the fire burned 154,000 acres and destroyed nearly 14,000 homes. And the fingers are pointing all over the place. As you know, PG&E has admitted that they had an event on a high-powered tension line just right where the fire started. And, of course, fingers are now pointing back at Governor Jerry Brown because he vetoed a bill that would have mandated better safety measures for those cables. And fingers are also pointing at Jerry Brown for setting up an environmental policy of allowing the woods to go back to nature, to grow wild, rather than managing them properly. So Trump is correct. Yeah, this was the California government let this one get out of control. All right, we have a caller on the line. Jim in Chicago, aloha. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hello, Michael. A couple of things.
Regarding the Saudi reporter that was murdered, from what I read, the CIA knew that the Saudis were planning on killing him. This is my question. Why didn't the CIA warn the reporter and even try to protect him?
It may be. I still think the reason there was such a big deal made about his death, given that there have been some 70 journalists killed so far this year and nobody talks about them, I think this was a setup to try and force Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman out of power, and it's failed. And I think I think that's what happened here.
Okay. The other question, you always talk about Julian Assange, and your question is this: where is the Australian government? How come, they aren't saying anything about their citizens? How come they're not trying to protect them? Do you have an idea of why they aren't?
I imagine diplomatic pressure has been applied by the United States on Australia to basically zip their lip. What's really ironic about this is Assange took refuge in the Ecuadorian embassy because of those bogus sexual assault charges, which have now been withdrawn. The only reason he cannot step out on the streets is the British authorities are going to arrest him and ship him to the United States to face whatever this unsealed indictment is. And I think the U.S. intention here is to make an example out of him because the U.S. government can't live with all the secrets that are leaking out. And there are secrets leaking out all over the place, and not just through WikiLeaks, it's to the media. Trump's White House has been leaking to the media. It's almost time to call it the White Colander. It's got so many holes in it. But I think, again, Assange, Trump the other day made this incredible statement that he doesn't know much about Julian Assange, which is odd because during the 2016 campaign, Trump talked about him a lot and what a wonderful thing WikiLeaks was. And Trump has got to remember that it was WikiLeaks' release of those DNC emails that played a large part in Trump getting that Oval Office. And Trump seems to have turned his back on Assange and the independent media as a whole. Trump has not stepped up as the equal access net neutrality gets whittled away from us. He's not standing up to all of these corporate social media platforms that are openly practicing censorship. And so I don't have high hopes that Assange is going to do very well out of this. I would like to see Trump write him a pardon. I don't think it's going to happen.
Right. And the final question, what is the status with Edward Snowden? You don't hear anything about it.
He pops up in the media every once in a while. I think he had a couple of interviews going into the midterm elections about the need for voting integrity and better security. But as far as I know, I think he's still living in Russia with his girlfriend. And maybe she's his wife by now. But I think Edward Snowden would rather just sort of fade away.
Okay. All right. Well, Michael, thank you very much. You take care.
All right. Thanks an awful lot. Going to let you go. The phone lines are now open. Yeah, I never got the sense that Edward Snowden wanted to be famous. I think he just wanted to get this information out to Glenn Greenwald and make it public because the U.S. government was doing bad things, which is what whistleblowing is all about. But I never got the sense that he was seeking any kind of fame. As far as Julian Assange is concerned, again, if Trump doesn't pardon him, it's going to be a major betrayal. And I understand why that indictment, at least we're being leaked. The indictment is all about what happened back with Chelsea Manning and that video from the helicopter that showed civilians being chain gunned. They don't want to go near that email server. That's the third rail of modern American politics right now. Okay, over in Alabama, there was this incident last Thursday where there was a shooting in a mall over there, and police gave chase to a suspect and shot him and killed him. And they've now had to basically come on out and say, we think we got the wrong guy. So the Hoover Police Department released a statement claiming they had engaged, shot, and killed the 21-year-old suspect in a mall shooting that left an 18-year-old man and a 12-year-old girl wounded on the night of Thanksgiving. That shopping craziness, I guess. So people believe that the suspect, Amantic Fitzgerald Bradford, was involved somehow, but they're not exactly sure. And the officers thought he was carrying a handgun. Now they don't know what it was. Maybe could have been a cell phone. Could have been a text message. The bargains are over here. Anyway, they're apologizing to the family, and I imagine it's going to be a huge, huge lawsuit. But it's very alarming how the police are not checking their targets. They're just shooting at anything that moves. The police are becoming more dangerous than the criminals. And aren't they supposed to be using their tasers or something? Apparently, over in South Dakota, there is legislation working its way through the system that would allow people to carry concealed handguns without a permit. And this is expected to take off once GOP Governor-elect Kristi Noem takes office in January. Now, the legislation languished under retiring Republican Governor Dennis Daugaard, but Noem, in her campaign, offered support for the so-called constitutional carry law. GOP State Senator-elect Lynn DeSanto, who, as a member of the State House of Representatives, sponsored a permitless concealed carry bill that Daugaard vetoed, said such legislation is likely in the upcoming session. She's optimistic about its prospects. And I think Second Amendment is pretty much an absolute. We're allowed to have guns. But I am in agreement that there has to be some kind of screening for people who are on prescription psychiatric medication, because there are too many cases where people on these medications are committing senseless acts of violence with firearms. Virtually every one of the mass shooters the gun grabbers wag at us were either on or withdrawing from these medications. And it's when you're withdrawing from them that the danger is greatest that you're going to have some kind of an event. Alrighty, now over in Great Britain, the government is seizing thousands of documents Facebook tried to keep secret. They're being described as potentially explosive and link back to Facebook's role in the Cambridge Analytica data mining scandal. That was the point at which people began to realize Facebook was more than just a communication system. And according to The Guardian, the documents were initially obtained during a legal discovery process by the now defunct U.S. software company 643, which is currently suing Facebook. And apparently, The Guardian is reporting they invoked a rare parliamentary mechanism that compelled 643's founder, who was on a business trip in London, to hand over the documents, which contains significant revelations about Facebook decisions on data and privacy controls that led to the Cambridge Analytica scandal. And apparently these documents include confidential emails between senior executives and correspondence with Zuckerberg himself. So they're going to be digging into that one a little bit. Alrighty, we've talked about Common Core a lot on this program and how bad it appeared to be. Now, because we had a neighbor that was working for the company implementing it here in Honolulu, I got to see some of the inside stuff. Believe it or not, teachers are told not to show parents or guardians the curriculum. They're not allowed to see what's being taught in there. But apparently, over at Accountability Works, a gentleman named Ted Rebarber had been studying Common Core and described it as the worst large-scale educational failure in 40 years. And apparently they were talking this up at a Heritage Foundation event last week about how Common Core has not only damaged public school education, but has presented obstacles to real school choice. People who want to take their kids out of Common Core. And Rebarber was saying this was all being driven by the allure of standards-based education reforms. In other words, we're going to say you're educated when you pass these specific tests, and these tests became the blueprint around which schools organized their teaching, their day-to-day academic operations. Basically, they were teaching the kids to take tests and not much else. And the other problem here is that schools that are private but being operated on taxpayer-funded vouchers, because they're getting taxpayer funds, they have to adopt Common Core as well, or something very much aligned to it. So school choice is just, it's not there anymore. And the report here basically saying you're really better off homeschooling your kid, or let your kid go to Common Core, and then when he gets home, just say, that's the wrong way to do math, because it is. We've seen it out there on the web. The way they were teaching mathematics, it's like they wanted to cripple the kids from being able to solve mathematical equations effectively again. Alrighty, as you know, this last holiday weekend was Thanksgiving. Friday was Black Friday. We're already seeing videos of crazed crowds at the local shopping mall. I have to wonder how much of that is staged as part of the propaganda to get everybody to just scramble into the store and just whip up the frenzy. But the way I hear it is it wasn't as good a Black Friday as they wanted. And again, they're blaming online sales for that. But people just don't have money. People just do not have money. But apparently some people did get hurt with all this Black Friday nonsense. And of course, today is Cyber Monday, where they're out there pushing the computers as hard as they can. What really made it kind of complex over the weekend for people trying to get back home from Thanksgiving was a major, major blizzard in the upper Midwest. And it was heavy snow, strong winds. A lot of flights were canceled. Apparently Chicago's O'Hare and Midway airports were dealing with a huge amount of snow on this busy day. 6 to 12 inches of snow expected from the middle Mississippi Valley to the Great Lakes. Parts of Illinois experienced whiteout conditions, 45-mile-per-hour gusts, and up to 2 inches of snow per hour. Heavy snow hit the Chicago metro area later on Sunday. And apparently there is another one of these cold fronts heading on in. So prepare accordingly. Alrighty, story coming on out here. Apparently, this Thanksgiving blizzard of this year broke a lot of previous cold and snow records. And they're okay. But apparently there is a second Arctic front going to come on in literally to southern Mexico and Cuba. And we're still technically in autumn. We're not yet in winter. There have been a lot of cases lately where it is getting so cold so quickly that life that would normally be migrating southward has been caught on the ground and in the oceans and is being found frozen to death. And story out of 12160.info. Apparently, sea turtles are being found frozen to death. So it is getting much colder. We're definitely heading into a grand solar minimum. And by the way, according to this article out of investors.com, we have had 2 years of record-breaking global cooling. Not only is the Earth cooling, it is cooling very, very rapidly. And apparently, working in Real Clear Markets, Aaron Brown looked at the official NASA global temperature data and noticed from February 2016 to February 2018, global average temperatures dropped by a little over 0.5 degrees Celsius. Now that is a lot. All right, we're going to take a break here for commercials, and we'll be right back after these few words.
Tired of being lied to by mass media? It's growing more and more apparent today that news is received less and less through standard media outlets. Even with a growing audience every day, RBN is beginning to direct more efforts into social media. Social media and the use of the internet is fast becoming the primary source of people for news, regardless of demographic. RBN has set out to provide some of the best news on the internet through republicbroadcasting.org, and also has begun to use the tools to our advantage by way of social media. Republic Broadcasting is now operating a Facebook page to function as yet another avenue to have our collective voice reach new audiences across not only America, but across the globe as well. The Facebook page features not only news, but also an RBN player to listen to our broadcasts. Get involved by visiting facebook.com/Republic Broadcasting and liking our page and share it with your friends and family, because you can handle the truth.
Many people write us about their experience with Extendivite. Allow me to read you a few from Amazon.com. By Mel. Great product. My husband and father-in-law use it regularly. Both my husband and father-in-law have had significant change in their blood pressure and overall health. By Amazon customer. It works for me. Returned to buy the tincture and the capsules as they were on sale during February. Unlike some other products, this one worked for blood pressure and occasional irregular heartbeat. Extendivite produced noticeable results after just 2 bottles, a 4-month supply. I take Extendivite 3 times a day, every day. I think the supplement has helped with my increased fitness regime and to lower my blood pressure. Tell us your story. Get Extendivite today. Call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
Homeowners, are you in foreclosure, expecting to be served with a foreclosure lawsuit, or suspect your lender has coerced you into an illegal mortgage transaction? A huge number of mortgages made in the last 10 years have legal issues and are possibly defective. State laws and the U.S. Supreme Court have upheld that defective mortgage documents are grounds for foreclosure defense and for counterclaims in favor of the homeowner. If your mortgage has been sold or assigned since closing the loan, it may be defective and you may be paying the wrong party, and the lender may not have standing or the right to foreclose or collect payments under the law. If you would like to know if your mortgage is legal or not, or know if you are paying the right party, we can help. Our initial consultations are free of charge. We are not attorneys. We are legal researchers and work closely with experienced lawyers who know how to help you find the evidence to help you keep your home. Call toll free 1-855-2-KEEP-IT. That's 1-855-2-KEEP-IT today.
Well, they're stealing down on Wall Street and in Washington too. You know, it makes me wonder, what's a guy on Main Street to do? I've always tried to be an honest, upstanding kind of guy. But I must admit lately, I thought about giving something else a try. Oh, I want to be a pirate. I want to sail the 7 seas, yeah, I want to be a pirate.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to the show here. And over the break, I was looking at the Fox News feed, and apparently Barbara Streisand is back out there dissing on women who support Donald Trump, saying that they don't have confidence in their own thoughts. And I mean, come on, Babs. The midterms are over. the next election is 2 years away. Are we really going to have to listen to more of this constantly? I mean, doesn't Fox News have something more newsworthy to talk about? And this idea that you're going to insult women into supporting a Democrat, well, they tried that in 2016, and it did not work. Besides, I don't think you're going to have to worry about Trump in 2020. I think he's self-destructing right in front of us. Now, he is doing a good job down on that border. So far, only a few of the illegal migrant horde, whatever you want to call them, have gotten through. Unfortunately, the government of Mexico is cooperating. They're starting to do deportations from their side. But the corporate media is running this all over the place. Somebody just sent me this montage of tweets from all the major media organizations, and they're all using that same photo of this woman and children running away from the tear gas. And by the way, they're not actually in the tear gas. It's way, way behind them. So I'm in agreement with those who think it was a staged shot here. Now, here's an interesting little story. There is this senator, or was this senator, Jose R. Peralta, and not too long ago, he was promoting flu shots on Twitter. Then he went to get the flu shot and immediately came down with symptoms of the flu. And he died on the 21st of November. It was reported in the New York Times here. And they're trying to say it was septic shock, because apparently if you have a vaccine for an illness and you get that illness, which we have seen happen, measles, mumps, possibly even polio, but you never let the public know about it, it would damage the sales, and sales are what are important here. It's amazing. Now, there's a little bit of controversial experiment that's going on here over in China, or has gone on. Apparently, at the Southern University of Science and Technology in Shenzhen, they have created genetically altered babies, genetically edited, primarily to eliminate a gene called CCR5, which in theory will make the babies resistant to HIV, smallpox, and cholera. All right, we're going to take another break for commercials. Join us on the air, 800-313-9443, and we'll be right back.
Homeowners, if your lender has gone out of business or sold your transaction to another lender or servicer, you may be the victim of a wrongful foreclosure, resulting in the loss of your home. If you've already lost your home, are in foreclosure, or even in good standing, you can challenge the mortgage transaction's illegal issue, and your property can be restored to you, and your foreclosure can be stopped or reversed, and the mortgage transaction declared unenforceable. State laws, U.S. title codes, the Uniform Commercial Codes, and U.S. Supreme Court rulings have upheld that defective mortgage documentations can reverse or stop foreclosures and enforce property title claims in favor of the homeowner. We are having successes in stopping the process of foreclosure, the enforcement of the foreclosure judgments, the sale of property, and evictions after the sale. We are not attorneys, and we don't give legal advice. We are a professional team of legal researchers, providing forensic mortgage audits and expert witnesses. We have the knowledge to produce the evidence and enforce laws regarding your legal issues. We've been in business for 12 years without a complaint. Consultations are free, and we provide a free title search to confirm if your mortgage has legal defects. Please call 855-253-3748. 855, the number 2, keep it today.
You're listening to the Republic Broadcasting Network because you can handle the truth.
What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero, because World War III is a really bad idea. Here is your host, Michael Rivero.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show, hour number 3. The phone lines are open, 800-313-9443. And we're talking about a experiment, if you will, over in Shenzhen, China, at the Southern University of Science and Technology, where they have just had the first ever genetically edited babies, twin girls. And this Chinese researcher, he altered the genes in the embryos or the eggs to make them more resistant to HIV, smallpox, and cholera. He's being denounced as unethical, and it has caused a firestorm of controversy. So people are saying, the technology isn't that robust. We don't know what's going to happen. And it comes under the heading, this is human experimentation. And so apparently, He Jiankui is the name of this guy, studied at Rice and Stanford, returned to China to open up his own lab. And apparently these twin girls were born this month. He said the goal was not to cure or prevent an inherited disease, but to try and bestow a trait that few people naturally have, an ability to resist possible future infections with HIV, the AIDS virus, and so forth. I'm really concerned about this. It sounds good in theory, but in looking at some of the really bad mistakes that have been made with this technology and with science in general, I think there should have been a little bit more oversight here. So this has been picked up in Associated Press here, and yeah, it was even on Fox News. Earlier today. Okay. Now, as you know, not too long ago, one of the people working on Donald Trump's team to get drug prices lowered was found dead under questionable circumstances. And now we're seeing this article that's coming up out of Investment Watch blog, where pharmaceutical companies are now lobbying the federal government to get the Medicare drug discounts for senior citizens thrown out. Because they want that money. They want that money. They want those end-of-the-year Christmas bonuses. We have definitely allowed greed to overturn our better selves. I mean, I've got nothing against being rich. There's a right way to do it, and there's a wrong way to do it. This is the wrong way to do it. Alrighty, let's see what else we've got. This is a bizarre story, and I'm probably going to get some phone calls out of this one. Down in Texas, there is this company called Visive Technology that has built a copy of what was called the Wardenclyffe Tower, which was Nikola Tesla's biggest Tesla coil. And apparently this new tower is going to be used for the same functions, for wireless communications and the transmission of electricity through air via low-frequency radio waves known as surface waves. Well, there's a couple of issues with that. One is going to be, interference on the radio. And second, if this is a commercial venture, how do you meter the electricity? Now, it's going to be spectacular to see it work. Maybe they're going to put the meters on the houses, because there does have to be an antenna rammed down into the earth to pick up these surface waves and turn them back into electricity. So you could put the meter there. But this is definitely blue sky. And interestingly enough, the foundations for Nikola Tesla's Wardenclyffe Tower are still there. I mean, the tower itself is gone and torn down, but the remains of his lab and the foundation are still there. Apparently, that snowstorm that we were talking about, it's still pounding Chicago. Thousands are without power. Hundreds of flights have been canceled at the airports. So it's going to be rough over there. Okay, I just got an email. I'm going to read it to you because it's in response to the talk about Common Core. I still say Common Core is an intentional program designed to hobble the public's minds the same way the corporate processed junk food supply is meant to hobble the public's bodies. Diseased, overweight bodies are cash machines for the pharmaceutical and medical industries and cannot physically oppose the government. While hobbled minds unable to think rationally are fertile grounds for the ruling class propaganda, minds that will never be able to extricate themselves from the matrix. And yeah, it's entirely possible. I mean, going all the way back to the Prussian model, public education has never really been about keeping the public truly educated, but teaching them what the government wants them to believe to make them useful. So I definitely agree with that. Okay, let's see. We're going to do a shout out now to our honor affiliates who are just now rejoining our network. Turning on back down to the incidents at the Borders, apparently somebody's trying to sell the idea that this migrant caravan is some kind of a hoax, that it isn't really there, that it's all made up. I do think it's real. There's simply too many photos of it. But I'm very, very concerned that there seems to be so much effort trying to put fake news out there. And somebody sent me an article from the Washington Post about somebody who's literally set up a company where they are paid to basically create fake news stories to put on clickbait websites. And technically it's not illegal, but then these fake news stories, which are sensationalistic, they get picked up and copied by people who don't know any better. So critical thinking is definitely needed in this day and age. So anyway, getting on back to the border, apparently CNN was interviewing the San Diego Border Patrol chief, who is saying that the vast majority of this migrant horde are adult males. And they're pushing the women and children to the front to make it look like their families. But these are adult males coming on in, trying to get into our country. Are they here to try and grab jobs away from legal American citizens? Are they all parts of gangs? We know that there's a lot of MS-13 involved here. These open borders people just don't understand the damage they are causing to countries that go along with that. But countries like Slovakia, they're wising up. I'm trying to remember who it was who said that quote a while back. If you import the third world into your country, you get third world problems here. Okay. Phone lines are open. 800-313-9443, and I could use a few phone calls here. They did have a good day on the stock market. Ended in the green here. Apparently, Nigel Farage is out there making the rounds again over Theresa May's disappointing Brexit deal. And I think at this point, pretty much everybody in Great Britain understands she was always a Remainer. And she was always going to try and figure out a way to pull the teeth out of Brexit. Remember up in Portland, that Antifa leader who pled guilty to raping an underage boy is not going to get any jail time. And this is his second offense. Somebody's pulling a lot of juice. There we are. Okay, apparently, along with their other problems, GM is going to kill off the Chevrolet Volt, Cruze, and Impala. Americans are ditching larger passenger cars and going to more economical. Okay. All right, let's see. Yeah, here's another one of these articles about fake borders, fake pictures, lies everywhere. So let me. Okay. Apparently, there's a new Judge Dredd out for you comic book fans here, and apparently, in the new version, new and improved, Judge Dredd is a social justice warrior, and Mega City 1 is a sanctuary city. We've been seeing a lot of that, where the comic books are now being used to propagandize liberal agenda, and you know what's happening? The sales are slumping. People buy comic books for the same reason they watch TV and movies. They want to be entertained. They want to be distracted. They don't want to be indoctrinated and propagandized. Okay, we have a caller on the line, Mark in New York. Aloha, Mark. Welcome to the show. Thank you for calling in. What's on your mind?
You're welcome, Mike, and I hope you had a great Thanksgiving. I appreciate you taking my call. I had 4 topics written down. One about the China geneticists, the border stuff, the voter suppression, and the climatology. When I read the article, too, over the weekend about China geneticists, and I think about them, they were worried about them mucking up the gene pool was a big part of the article, too, that for me, this whole thing about HIV sounds politically correct. And out in China, from what I understand, if you have any kind of serious disease, they'll be like, hey, I got a tank to show you. You know, they'll run them over with tanks. They're not, you know. But
they don't do that as much as they used to. Yeah, there's a big question that you brought up. Are these twin girls, assuming they survive to adulthood, are they going to pass this edited gene onto their offspring?
Yeah, or are they like looking to make a Superman, like American Superman? They're looking to create, Asians with instead all looking the same, maybe with blonde hair and stuff, and that would be mucking up the gene pool. I think it's not worth it. I think these guys, trusting them just the way they're just going about what they've done so far.
I think it's very dangerous. And again, that's because of the mistakes we've seen in genetically modified products to date. As far as our gene pool being mucked up, that's kind of been going on since the nuclear tests of the 1950s. And who knows, even before that, there are other contaminants as well. But that's a big issue. What happens when these twin girls reproduce?
Yeah. It was a very big concern for what they're really going to do a couple of years down the line and where it goes from here. And that they're already doing stuff without really anybody letting in on the things. But I had a few other points, though. One thing about climatology and all these reports over the weekend, you were saying it's based on, cookbooks. It reminds me of the Enron thing where they were doing creative bookkeeping.
Yep.
And I call these climatology like they're the Enron of science. It has nothing to do with the real data. Like you told me, they had some of this other stuff.
Well,
they kept in the trees.
let's be a little bit honest, because back in the 1990s, when Al Gore was first coming up with this, the temperature was warming, and so they just said, okay, we've got this thing. It happens naturally. We're going to declare it a crisis and offer to sell everybody a solution. And they started doing that, and then Mother Nature pulled a 180, and the temperature began to decline. These people who had built their media image on human-caused global warming didn't want to back off on that. So that's where Hide the Decline came in, and that's where the forgery and fakery began.
And a bribe as opposed to a grant. I mean, why bite the hand that feeds you, too?
Well,
right?
There's not much difference between either one, except the note asking for the bribe is a bit better written.
You know, over the weekend, I got in a little thing on the social media about voter suppression, and they brought up North Carolina. I did find a North Carolina conservative site. I did duck search, and I did have to look a little deeper because the 3 pages were filled with, you know, every liberal rag about why they're suppressing votes. And my angle was, aren't 2/3 of voting, even though I just read that 71% are registered, but a lot less actually vote. So to me, it's like self-suppression, you know? What about that compared to a few people getting? But the conservative site said that these laws help actually make the voting safer, better, and less voter fraud. But, you know, they're saying it's the yin and the yang almost, you know.
There is a big problem with election fraud, and it's been made worse again by all the illegal immigrants and the migrants coming on in, because the Democrats are just totally ignoring the fact that it is illegal for non-citizens to vote. And they're getting these people registered, and they're giving them inducements to vote. Apparently, in at least one location during the midterms, people from Skid Row were registered to vote, and then they were either paid $1 or given a cigarette to go in and vote for the Democrats.
I keep reading about it, but my liberal friends they don't see it. They see suppression. They don't see fraud, which I hope. I agree with you. I hope Donald Trump will do something about that, because this whole idea, when I was looking up demographics about Africans Americans and stuff, like in Georgia, I saw that even though across the country the demographics for African Americans are 12%, along with a lot of others minorities, but in Georgia they were like 40%. But I approached the North Carolina. I'm saying with 40% amount of people, that's more self-induced suppression than actually, I think, you know, that if 40% of the population were minorities and they all voted, I think they could swing things their way, no matter how much suppression there may be or perceived.
Well,
but going on, I just want to mention Charleston guy is back in town or back in the news. I noticed they said video show. Nobody was released. They said white supremacists. I did not hear the word allegedly the way I hear so specifically spoken before they come out with a news headline. So we'll have to see what happens with that. You know, but apparently his case is coming up.
Generally during the midterms, turnout is low, although it was high this year. People tend to get motivated to go to the polls if they want change. If they're happy with the way things are, they tend to basically sit at home and presume that the incumbents are going to remain incumbents. So, it's a big issue. And of course, during the midterms, there was a huge campaign to try and get people to get out there and vote. But we need a better voting system, and I'm going to keep on fighting for that. We need something where only citizens are allowed to vote. They're only allowed to vote once, and their vote is counted and tabulated right then and there. And again, on the front page of whatreallyhappened.com, right underneath my picture, I've written an article on what I think is a good start to an honest, verifiable, transparent election system.
I've been putting some links there. And along those lines with California, one of the things I was just, and this will be real quick, when I noticed that it's disproportional voting, that makes sense, across the whole country, there was pretty much even voting as far as Trump winning by a few points across everywhere. But in California, it was disproportionate to the rest of the whole nation, which I found very interesting because of all the, I believe, it's because of the immigration problem that's happened there and the chain migration, as well as the birthright citizen, people taking advantage of the birthright citizenship issue. And I hope Trump will point something it's all about borders and birthright citizenship. And I feel that the only amnesty should go to the people that have taken advantage of birthright citizenship. And this DACA and everybody else, maybe they should understand we've already let these people in, because clearly for 4 or 5 decades, we've been having this anchor baby stuff, and look what's happened in California, where it was a Reagan red state a decade or two ago.
All right, well, listen, Mark, we're going to take a break for commercials, and I'm going to let you go. We got another caller waiting on the line, and we will be right back.
The reviews for Extendivite are amazing. Here are some from Amazon. September 2018. Extendivite works in keeping my blood pressure in the normal range. I've been using Extendivite for many years now. May 2018. Great product. I use regularly and I rarely get sick. March 2018. This product has relieved what appeared to be angina pain in my chest and shortness of breath after climbing stairs. I'm quite happy about it. February 2018. My husband, son, and I have been using this product for a few months now, and we have noticed an improvement in our joints and blood pressure. Tell us your story. Get Extendivite today. To order, call 1-877-928-8822. That's 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
Attention RBN listeners. Dr. Ignatius Piazza, founder of Front Sight Firearms Training, and Fate have come together to allow RBN to run another fundraiser till the end of the year. We didn't really expect this opportunity, but thankfully it's here and running as you hear this. We've set a goal of 500 donations by the end of the year, which averages around 6 per day, 7 days a week. When you realize all the folks listening to RBN all hours of the day and night, we think our goal is realistic and extremely critical to keep RBN on the air. If everybody listening will seriously assess their ability with firearms and then take advantage of this opportunity, we feel our goal is very conservative. Please take the time to look over Front Sight's website to get an idea of an amazing facility and the world-class training that's going on there. If this interests you, you likely will have like-minded friends that would like to know. Tell them. If for some reason some listeners are not personally interested, consider sons and daughters, close friends, nieces or nephews, top valued employees, inform club members, share the opportunity with police and fire departments. It's not too early to plan Christmas presents for special people. This fundraiser has come at an extremely critical time for RBN because the dire need for equipment upgrades. We're running on the spare tire currently with no money to fix a flat, and the fuel gauge is bouncing on E. This is one of the most valuable ways you can help RBN financially because you get Commander lifetime membership value that is 50 times your donation and can be passed on forever. How many times during life do you get to leave a legacy? See more details and contact info on our webpage, republicbroadcasting.org, and thank you.
We will not go down in the night without a fight. You can burn up our mosques and our homes and our schools, but our spirit will never die. We will not go down in Gaza tonight.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. We're going to go back to the phones to Dan in Illinois. Aloha, Dan. Welcome to the show. What is on your mind?
Yeah, I just want to say I live in between Rockford and Chicago, and I was driving through 5 inches of global warming last night coming home from work at 7 o'clock. Shoveled my stairs, and I had another 6 inches of global warming on my stairs this morning so I could go to my dentist appointment. And I think anybody that thinks that man can control, has any power greater than the forces of the earth and the sun combined really needs to rethink their ways of thought about what's going on as far as weather planet. It's
been a scam. The whole thing was a scam. And like I said, back in the 1990s, when the Earth really was warming up, they said, we'll declare this a crisis and we'll sell them a solution, because that's how politicians think. And then Mother Nature pulled a fast one on them, and the Earth started cooling. And they got caught lying about it. And now we're going to this grand solar minimum. Scientists apparently think there's an even longer solar cycle than they were aware of that stretches 400 years, older than our country. And we may be in for a very rough time for the next few years.
Oh, yeah, because, it was back in the early mid-2000s, I used to have a police scanner in my car. And there was a lot of solar activity. And I was getting, here in Illinois, in my car, I was getting Southern California, I-10, 99 in California, that runs through the middle of the state, up and down.
Yep.
And I was getting North Carolina on Interstate 81. You don't get that on a police scanner in your car.
Well, that's, I mean, that kind of bounce means very little solar activity because was this daytime or nighttime?
This was during the day, so yeah, because, in fact, we had a lot of snow back then, too. Something was going on because you don't get that kind of reception on a car scanner.
No, you generally don't. Yeah. So, yeah, you were hearing the police calls like from 3 states away.
Well, there's North Carolina and California. That was across the country because I'm in northern Illinois. And it went on for about a month.
Okay.
So, and as far as this caravan goes, I called up John one night. It was after I heard this. I know he's not everybody's favorite, but Glenn Beck, he received an email from a woman in Honduras. And she said that they were organizing down there an ex-president that got kicked out of office back in 2008.
Yeah.
Because he was trying to make Honduras into Venezuela. So the Supreme Court down there kicked him and his people out of office. And this is like organization by those people to get even with us, with the usual suspects as far as financing.
Yes.
So to me, it kind of makes sense that these people down there organized it because they're a bunch of commies, and they're trying to do the same thing up here.
Yeah, I mean, it's part of this grand plan to basically blur everybody together, so we lose our sense of cultural, regional identity. And they think it's going to make it easier for them to control us. And again, the reason it's not working, the reason it's falling apart, is that it is nowhere near as easy to change human nature as liberals like to believe it is.
Oh, yeah, they think we're all a bunch of saps.
Yeah.
And we'll just fall for it and throw up our hands. And personally, I believed what this woman was saying, because she's down there on the ground. You're not going to hear that kind of stuff from any of the news people up here.
No, the corporate media up here is very much on board with, Trump is wrong for closing the border. And like I said, MSNBC is out there saying that, Trump is just using this for political gain. The corporate media is already compromised by the globalists. They're fully on board with that program.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, Dan, need to let you go.
Yeah.
Need to take another break for commercials. Phone lines are open, 800-313-9443, and we'll be right back.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
Do you or a loved one suffer migraine headaches? Listen to what scientist Kurt Hendricks has to say.
35 million people in the United States suffer with debilitating migraines. If you or a loved one are one of them, you need to know about MigraLief. Hi, I'm Kurt Hendricks, the scientist that formulated and patented the MigraLief migraine formula. MigraLief is a non-prescription dietary supplement recommended by neurologists, pharmacists, and pediatricians to address nutritional deficiencies in both adults and children over 2 with migraines. Try MigraLief for 3 months and see the powerful difference it can make in your life, or get your money back, no questions asked. Go to MIG911.com or call 800-MIG-7354. You can change your life today.
So if you suffer from migraines, don't wait. Call 800-MIG-7354. That's 800-MIG-7354 or visit MIG911.com.
This is too good to be true, except this time it is real. 100%. No joke. How about a $25,000 membership to Front Sight Firearms Training Facility as a thank you bonus for a one-time donation to RBN of only $400? It is a Commander lifetime membership with no yearly fees or dues. The training is free for the rest of your life with over 50 different classes. Then leave it to your designated beneficiary. You provide the approved firearm, holster, ammo, eye, and ear protection. Many features and bonuses are included, more than you would ever expect or believe. This is the ultimate graduation present, wedding gift, etc., etc. See the details. Go to RBN's webpage and frontsight.com to make it happen. You will hear this offer only on this radio network. Help keep RBN alive. Tell 5.
Many people write us about their experience with Extendivite. Allow me to read you some from Amazon.com. This product is superb. I have been taking it for about a year now, and I can feel my cardiovascular system run like a Swiss watch. I definitely recommend this product for anyone that has high cholesterol, high blood pressure, and heart palpitations, A+. It's potent, but it works. I have been waking up for the past 3 years with numb hands, and a week into using Extendivite, my numb hands seem to have cleared up. My circulation was off, and now it's back on track. So I'm happy. I feel so energized, and I have my husband on it now. My mother-in-law has cholesterol problems, so I bought her a bottle as well. Thank you so much. Love the product. Tell us your story. Get Extendivite today. Call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
What Really Happened with your host, Mike Rivero. Join Mike on the air. Call toll-free 800-313-9443. 800-313-9443.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to the show. And here's an interesting little story. Apparently, Fox News is reporting that down in Pickering, North Yorks, the Lady Lumley School has basically called off celebrations of Christmas, saying it's gotten too commercial, which, yeah, it certainly has. I mean, I'm already in full Ebenezer Scrooge mode. I don't even know if I'm going to bother putting up the lights this year or not. But so, yeah, I think Christmas is way too commercial, but then so is Thanksgiving, and so is Halloween, and so is every holiday. We seem to have forgotten the idea of having a holiday just to have a holiday. So, anyway. Ron Paul is out with a new article saying that Americans should be allowed to opt out of abortion and war, which is a good thing. I'd like to opt out of the wars. I really would. I really, really would. And okay, hang on a second. Do you need help? All right. Just checking on Claire. Now, a little while ago, we were talking about how it's definitely getting colder here on Earth. But that's not going to stop the global warming industry. There's a story here in the Daily Mail in Great Britain where scientists want to stop global warming by dimming the sun, by launching ultraviolet blocking aerosols into the atmosphere. They're talking about doing this by 2033, and they'll be up in the altitudes 12 miles. Didn't they try something like that in the prequel to The Matrix? Stop messing with Mother Nature. As that other caller said, it's all determined, overwhelmingly determined, by solar radiation and the shape of the Earth's orbit and its orientation on its axis. That's what controls and drives climate. And, somebody's probably going to get some funding to do this stuff. But a lot of people are saying this could backfire and be catastrophic here. Okay, do you remember that giant floating pipe? They set up this floating pipe. It was going to clean the Great Pacific Garbage Patch up. Well, apparently it's run into some problems there because the garbage is spilling back into the ocean. Apparently this floating pipe isn't floating high enough and the sides aren't steep enough where I presume just wave action is taking the garbage and putting it right back out there on the water. Okay. We talked about this the other day. And I remember when I was a kid growing up and they would say, well, there used to be these British cavemen, they were called Neanderthals, and along came Cro-Magnon and we basically clubbed them over the head and they went away. No, actually, they're doing more DNA tests showing that humans and Neanderthals interbred many times, multiple times, over 35,000 years when they shared the plains of Eurasia. And apparently researchers said the crossbreeding began shortly after humans came into contact with Neanderthals after they began to pour out of Africa around 75,000 years ago. So here is what is really significant about this. There was another intelligent bipedal hominid wandering around Eurasia. Now, and if you're like me, you probably grew up with this idea that there was a single source for all human beings, the Adam and Eve thing. But in looking around at the various differences in humans, I think it's much more likely that there were multiple species of bipedal, intelligent, tool-using hominids. And that's why we are the way that we are today. That there isn't a single origin for humankind. There are many origins for humankind. Okay. The U.S. Postal Service has had a hack or a leak. Apparently, they had a security flaw that exposed the data of 60 million customers. It was a vulnerability on the USPS website that allowed anyone to see online users' street addresses, usernames, phone numbers, and other personal information. And apparently a security researcher notified the USPS more than a year ago of this vulnerability. But the USPS only got around to fixing it recently. So, okay. Somebody just sent in an email here. The migrant horde, for everyone that supports these migrants, they should be obligated by law to sponsor a migrant or two and be responsible for them for at least 1 year. It's a good idea. Claire has suggested it many times herself. And we also had, let's see, where was it? The migrant. Well, somebody basically wrote in saying that if the goal is open borders, why do we still need TSA? Which I think is a good comment here to be making. And let's see. I'm sort of hunting around for stories. And let me just switch to another page. I got lots of stuff from the past weekend here. We talked about Insight, the same. We talked about Ocasio-Cortez saying that the migrant horde is like Jews fleeing the Holocaust here. Okay. Apparently, Avenatti is off the hook. There are no federal charges for him. He may face a misdemeanor count. Apparently, Canada is beginning a mortgage bailout through this complex, supposedly too big to fail derivatives. I hate that word here. All right, we talked about Ukraine. Nothing news coming on out with that one. We did update you that the parliament in Ukraine has authorized martial law for 30 days. And apparently, Russian consulate territory is on fire. We talked about that one. Oh, here's a good one, especially as we head into the holiday shopping season. Apple is cutting the price of its budget iPhone XR with the world's most advanced LCD display. Apparently, Apple is forced to offer subsidies to Japanese operators because the sales just have not been there. Yeah, it's an expensive unit. I mean, that's the low-end phone. That's like $700. $1,000 for a cell phone? Yes, it's a nice little unit, but so that really is okay. Apparently, they've had a nasty chemical spill in southern China. It's put 52 people in the hospital and has cost affected fishing villages millions of dollars in lost revenue. Apparently, it's turned out it was a lot larger than first reported. Okay. Here's a good one. This is out of Oraz.com. The British military head says Russia poses an even bigger threat than the Islamic State. Well, the Islamic State are off the hook. Why is Russia posing a threat? I wonder. Russia's not doing anything except preparing to defend itself. This is coming from General Mark Carlton Smith in an interview in the Daily Telegraph. Russia has demonstrated that it is prepared to use military force to secure and expand its national interests. Really? Where? Where did they do this? As opposed to the United States, which is in Syria and Libya and Yemen, been in Iraq, been in Afghanistan, gazing avariciously at Iran now. I mean, this is absurd. I can't imagine the British people reading this Daily Telegraph interview and saying, oh yeah, Russia's a threat, Russia's a threat. In this day and age of independent media, back in the 1950s during the Cold War, yeah, it was very different. There were no alternative sources of information unless you had a shortwave radio, which I was lucky enough to have. I built it from a Heathkit when I was in high school. But it's just more lying. It's nothing but lies. And I'm in agreement with these other callers that we had earlier today. The United States is not going to be able to prevail in a conventional war against Russia and China. Even our military command has now admitted the same thing. Can't be done. So what are we going to do? Well, we're going to build up. We're going to start building a new mighty war machine to go after Russia and China. What a waste of our money. What a waste of manpower. What a waste of manufacturing. When you look around our country at how deteriorated it is, the bad roads, the bad rails, the risky dams, bridges that are seen as deficient, and you look at all the money, something like $5 trillion has been spent on the post 9/11 wars. Just imagine had that money been spent improving our nation. It's estimated that completely overhauling and revamping our national infrastructure would have only cost $1 trillion. We could have had a brand new country, brand new highways, brand new roads, brand new streets. But the money went for bombs, bullets, and butter. And it is a waste. It absolutely is a waste. Another story coming out of the Capitol. Apparently, Donald Trump is looking for a different attorney general than Matthew Whitaker. And apparently, Whitaker will be staying on until next summer. But past that, they're not sure. But the good news is, this gives him something like 7 months, if you will, to possibly indict Clinton and end that Mueller probe. So, yeah, another article. Apparently, San Francisco Giants co-owner Charles Johnson is throwing maximum money at Cindy Hyde Smith. So that whole take a knee thing is just silly. It's gotten out of control. It's gotten out of control because that flag and that anthem do not represent the government, which we all agree is misbehaving. That's our flag. That's our anthem. When these athletes and celebrities and stars disrespect the flag, they're disrespecting us. And I'm not surprised that attendance at various sporting events is now in decline. So apparently Alyssa Milano got a little bit of a Twitter backlash during the California wildfire. She basically ignored the victims of the wildfire, who for the most part are legal American citizens, and was out there. We've got to save the asylum seekers. And that provoked a backlash. I think liberals are becoming their own worst enemies here. Oh, and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez has also weighed in on global warming, saying we're all going to die from it. Is this the best that we can do? Somebody else wrote me another note saying, why is the world being run by psychopaths? How is it the crazies get in charge? Well, sociopaths are excellent liars. That's part of the problem. They don't have a tell that says to the listener, I am lying. Need to go back to George Isuzu. Remember the guy that would flash on the TV commercial under him? He's lying. Another article here about, yes, there was rampant election theft in 2018. Nobody seems to care. And I'm wondering, why is that? Why does nobody care about the fact that after going to the polling places and casting our votes, don't you want to know that your vote actually means something, that it matters? Or have Americans just given up hope? And I can understand that feeling because I have. I don't think there's any way to save this country. I think it's heading for a horrendous crash. So, nothing new on Ukraine. We talked about the Tesla Tower. And, North Korea's leader Kim Jong-un sent a gift to South Korean President Moon Jae-in. It's a pair of puppies. It's a good symbol, I think. It's a very good symbol. Apparently, Russia is starting free trade talks with South Korea as well. The U.S. is not going to like that. And more about Ukraine, more about Ukraine. Alrighty. Apparently, GlaxoSmithKline has now teamed up with 23andMe. So, just so you know where your DNA is going to wind up. All right, we're going to take another commercial break here. We'll be back with the last segment of our program after these few words.
Ladies and gentlemen, J.R. Moore here. As most of you know, my regular listeners, I offer energy cleaners for sale at my website. If you don't have a clue what I'm talking about, go to my website, thelibertyman.com, educate yourself about these marvelous healing devices. We focus on pain mitigation and getting a great night's sleep. Arthritis pain, joint pain, back pain, doesn't matter. Keep in mind, I offer from me to you personally a 30-day money-back guarantee. That's what I do. Energy cleaners, $285, shipping included to American zip codes. You can educate yourself all about the energy cleaner right there at my website, the patent application, the wonderful testimonials. Be sure and check out the factory-made fitted mattress pads to go with the energy cleaner. Now, I offer from me to you personally a 30-day money-back guarantee. That's what I do. I have a toll-free order line, or you can order it right at my website at thelibertyman.com. The toll-free order line is 800-592-9543. I say again, 800-592-9543. Thank you.
Without the right accessories, any guy can be off the mark. Whether you've invested thousands in your arsenal or you own a single trusted firearm, a visit to AROutfitting.com is in order. It's one of the finest online selections of tactical optics and AR parts and add-ons, like EOTech, quick target acquisition with no peripheral loss. Browse the full range of Nikon scopes and binoculars. AirOutfitting.com can illuminate your world with Streamlight gun-mounted lights from keychain to large handhelds up to 1,100 lumens. Find some stability with Battenfield tactical bipods. AirOutfitting.com has CMMG gun parts, barrels, assemblies, handguards, part kits, and more. Plus mag-full clips and magazines. I know I've got you excited, so take a breath. Head to AirOutfitting.com. The site's super easy to navigate and features a ton of technical info, including links to manuals. We also welcome vendor and manufacturer inquiries. Remember, if you don't see it, we can get it at AROutfitting.com.
Corporate media dominates the American opinion. Finding independent voices that counter this avalanche is becoming increasingly difficult. With the endless corruption running rampant throughout our government, independent voices are needed more than ever to battle the offensive against our freedoms and liberties. As a listener of RBN, no one understands this concept better than you. Now it's up to you to do your part. The time has come for you to take action and begin broadcasting the truth to hundreds or thousands of people every month. Sound impossible? Quite the contrary. With pointed slogans from LibertyStickers.com, you can reach countless sleeping Americans unaware that they live in a real-life wonderland. LibertyStickers.com has a huge inventory of political bumper stickers and messages that reflect the truth about our government, our politicians, and the future of America. With so many in stock, there's one perfect for you. Visit us today at LibertyStickers.com. Again, that's LibertyStickers.com. Do your part. Your voice is important. Let it be heard.
Some are maxed out all their credit cards. Some are working 2 jobs and living in cars. Minimum wage won't pay for a roof, won't pay for a drink. If you gotta have proof, just try it yourself, Mr. CEO. See how far 5.15 an hour will go. Take a part-time job at one of your stores. I bet you can't make it here anymore.
And aloha America, welcome back to our show, last segment of our program today. And apparently the Chinese Air Force has just unveiled a new trio of fighter jets developed by China to basically rival America's warplanes, and there's a video out there showing them drilling around, and they look capable. What can I tell you? See what else is going on here. Obamacare rates are exploding, which we already knew here. Apparently, China has decided they no longer want to be dependent on foreign GPS. And obviously, that's a concern going into a new world war. Nobody wants to be dependent on the U.S. system, which can be tinkered with and tampered with, or just plain shut off. You know, the civilian part of it, the unencrypted part of it. So China is spending $9 billion to build their own GPS system so fighters and Navy ships don't have to navigate by U.S.-owned satellites if and when the war breaks out. And apparently they're going to have it in smartphones, autonomous cars, planes, and ships. Now, apparently this system is currently operational in China with a small fleet of satellites overhead, but it should be globally available by 2020. So it's getting crowded up there. It is really getting crowded up there. All right, here's an interesting story. This came again, the Daily Mail here. Apparently, investors in Bitcoin may not technically own them, because the English courts don't recognize the cryptocurrency as possessions. This is coming from Dave Michaels, a research associate at Queen Mary University of London. And says the level of legal protection is unclear. And he's done some research that shows that courts in England and Wales are unlikely to identify digital tokens like Bitcoins as property, because they exist in virtual space only. And the same law is likely to apply in other common law jurisdictions since the United States, Hong Kong, Singapore, most of India, and elsewhere. Now, when Bitcoin first came along, there actually was a token for it, which I don't have. This is the Electro. That's back when they thought it wasn't going to just go as crazy as it did. But now they truly are virtual. They exist in a computer's memory. So I understand the legal difficulty. How do you say what is real? And how do you say what is property? I think the easiest way to go, of course, is intellectual property, because corporations and individuals can own created content that resides in computer memories and on hard drives. And I think that might be a foundation for firming up the legal status of cryptocurrencies. So, well, solved that one here. And there's the music. Time for me to get on out of here. I got to take care of the lovely Claire today. And stay tuned for John Stadmiller. He's got lots of interesting things to share with you. Please take what you learn here, share it with everybody that you know. And we'll be back tomorrow. Aloha, America.